Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, if you are in the States right now, happy Thanksgiving. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have made it around the world one more time since the channel has been up. And you guys know what that means. If you watched this content last year, we got to come back to our favorite Thanksgiving serial killer, turkey.
Gravy.
Who may have actually just been upstaged by a little film that's out in theaters right now known as Thanksgiving, which you can check out our review on the channel right now. Very fun movie. We got a spoiler free and a spoiler review. Self promotion over. Yeah, we really had fun with ThanksKilling last year. I mean, that was Luke's first time seeing it. It's a movie that was near and dear to my heart. Finding it on like Netflix back when I was in high school, watching it with a bunch of friends, being completely taken aback by just the absurd, wild nature of that film and just how goofy and off the wall that it was. And I was eager to show it to you, but I also know you and I know how you are with horror comedy. And I think our audience has gotten to know you over the last year with horror comedy. I was expecting you to be pretty negative on it. And what do you know? You actually had some nice things to say.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that film, and I had always stayed away from it, just because, like, looking at it, knowing the concept, seeing the cover art for a lot of it, just didn't seem like something I was interested in. So then when you pitched it to me, yeah, of course, I was hesitant. I didn't know, I thought it was just going to be a kind of roll my eyes and, get through it. But it turned out to be a lot of fun just because it is absolutely absurd. And some of the bits they do in there with Turkey wearing one of the dad's faces and then just taking it face value is just a lot of fun. So there was way more fun to be had than I had expected with that initial installment there, just because the wild stuff that they do. Some of the bits are just absolutely crazy. So I end up, looking at it. There wasn't a really big moment of me trying to, try it on and see how it fits. As soon as it opened up and it was absolutely crazy with, that opening scene that, if you've seen it, you know what it is. It was like, okay, so this is the ride that I'm in for. So that initial one I thought was a lot of fun. It is something I haven't revisited 100%. I do go back every now and then and kind of watch some scenes from it just because they're so much fun. But so I was excited to see what ThanksKilling 3 was going to bring to us.
Yeah, and this one, this is the joke of the film is that they skipped over Thanksgiving too because it was so bad, and now we are at Thanksgiving 3, which I mean, in theory, sounds like another fun gag. Definitely sounds like something that I can get behind. And I have to be honest, this was one that I didn't end up watching back in high school. This is one that I watched a few years later. I think probably just after I graduated, and I didn't remember much of it. Granted, I was probably stoned when I watched it, so it's like Lord knows where my head was at with all of it. But yeah, I didn't remember much of this, but I remember that it was really zany and it was really out there. And I did remember Frank and Turkey, who we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Blarth.
But yeah, it was something I was honestly a bit excited to revisit because of just how well ThanksKilling went for us last year. And yeah, if I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know if I've become a bit more of a curmudgeon or what. Maybe we've been treated to too many good things. Maybe, coming off of Eli Roth's Thanksgiving and then coming into ThanksKilling 3, this one doesn't really work for me as well. This one feels like, when you have a funny joke or an idea and, it gets a big reaction from a group or like friends or whatever. And then you just like keep adding on to it and you just keep going further and further and then it stops being funny, but then you still keep going and going and going.
I'm gonna drink your blood like cranberry sauce, meanie.
ThanksKilling 3 skipping over 2 because 2 is so bad. I love that idea. I thought it was a lot of fun. But then, getting into this one, like I said, going into ThanksKilling, there wasn't really that period of me, trying to get in the groove there. I was, as soon as it started, it only took me a few minutes and I was on for that ride. But this one, I was almost expecting myself to get into that groove while I was watching it, and I was waiting for it and I'm waiting for it and I'm waiting for it and it's just not coming, and then and then the credits are rolling, so for me it was a lot of waiting and waiting for this film to catch, and I'm like, it's got to have some of that charm that the original had. I'm not, going into it, didn't really know the concept here. I wasn't really asking for too much, I thought, okay, so maybe this one has a bit more of a budget. I just need, a basic slasher, what we got from that first one, maybe expand upon it, maybe a new setting. And I don't even need returning characters in any sense other than Turkey. And just kind of give me more of what that first one was. But this one for me felt like, oddly enough, such a departure from that first one. And yeah, it has that, it has that comical value that the first one had, but I just don't think it hit like that first one. Maybe it was the setting, maybe it was the characters. There were a lot of puppets in this one. And I think maybe that also had something to do with it. It was just something where I had trouble, not necessarily that I relate to the characters in the first one in any sense, but this one, I just kind of, it felt like I was more so on the sidelines rather than being actually involved in the film.
I agree. It really did just feel like, unlike the first one, where the first one, I mean, say what you will. Again, I have that nostalgia to it, but it feels like a holiday film for me. It feels like a nice, nostalgic glass of milk. I mean, I'm just sitting down, got my cookies, got my fun time. I'm ready to just enjoy this, have a good laugh, and that's my watch for the year. I do it, and this one's just not that. It just doesn't, it goes way too far with not only the jokes, but it also, and I don't mean like crass humor or like anything shocking. I mean like, again, just we're funny, aren't we? It's funny what we're doing, isn't it? And it's like that. I don't care for that. I think that it's kind of like, we get the joke, we get what you're going for. The puppet thing, I don't understand why we pivoted so hard into the puppets. Like, I thought that it was cool that Turkey was a puppet, and that's harkening back to a lot of the older special effects and things that you do in like some of the 50s films and stuff, and that's giving it a lot more credit than I think anyone else would. But it's like, why are we leaning so hard into like this pseudo disgusting Muppet world that we kind of fall into with all these oddball characters, which, I mean, I guess are fun and slightly creative, but like, it's almost like you get so creative and so over the top that it just ends up creatively bankrupting your film and really pulling the wind out of the sails of just what you originally had.
Yeah, and and like looking at the original film, you have those moments where they're jokey, absolutely absurd, but they kind of have that very, certain trajectory that they're going on. We know what a slasher film is and what kind of beats you're going to be hitting, and I feel like they kind of intertwined all that perfectly. Whereas this one, I don't know, it just seemed like their path, they almost, it felt like side missions half the time where they kept, becoming off track with certain things, and it never really felt like that story had a clear vision where it was like, okay, we're this is A, B to C. It just, it kind of, it felt like I was watching almost segments, I guess, in a certain time. So for me, it just, again, I had trouble really getting into the groove of this thing.
Yeah, and I think that it's definitely, it does have some moments. I think I can give it that. We can say there's definitely a few moments in here that stick out to me. Obviously, anytime there's a nod to any like original lore, I believe, isn't it, one point he attaches a chainsaw to his arm and then goes
Yes.
gravy. Like, that's great. I like that stuff. And Turkey is still Turkey for the most part. He still has his one-liners. He still, gets to say bitch and all kinds of shit a lot, and it's fine, but like, he's not, he even feels at times like he's not the same that we saw him in the last. And I think that going back for a more simplistic approach and having it go the route of, like your typical slashers, or it's like, maybe ThanksKilling 2, you have 2 turkeys. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's, a turkey versus another killer, something simple. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? Like, that's really what you gotta do at the end of the day with these movies. Because like, it feels like they thought that they had more than they really did. There was more meat on the bone than this concept ever had.
Yeah, it seems like they just kept expanding, expanding, expanding. Where, looking at the initial idea, and I didn't know what I was in for here. They introduce a new character. It's
Mhm.
Turkey's son, Nibla. And, like that, I thought, okay, maybe we're going to get something interesting here. I was never really a big fan of Seed of Chucky. I felt like that was kind of a misstep where, Chucky has a child, and you think there's going to be more so, he's teaching. Um, Glenda to kill, but Glenda doesn't really care enough to do that type of thing. And I thought, kind of a missed opportunity in that sense. And going to this one, I was like, oh, maybe we're gonna get what I was wanting from Seed of Chucky here, but um, it becomes a big bit, I think, throughout the film in
Yeah.
terms of what that becomes. And again, I think they have grains of pretty good ideas in here, but it never really becomes expanded upon because, like, again, I feel like it was a little segmented where it just was a little more disjointed than what I felt what the first one was, where that one, really falls in line with a funny slasher film, where this one's just kind of all over the place for me. And, the characters in this one, in the original, they all fall, they're tropey. I think it all works. Bad acting, it's all, it's so bad that it all falls into line that it becomes so much fun. Where this one, the characters weren't there for me. It just didn't feel organic at all, and it didn't feel as fun
Yeah,
either.
and I definitely agree with you. I don't think anything necessarily felt like it was fun. It didn't feel like it. It's weird, you think you go so far out with just like having these again oddball characters that are in these really strange situations, like, and they're the shit they're talking about. Like, I mean, there's a fucking whole like subplot about the anus or whatever they call it. Yeah, it's just like it's again the potty humor doesn't work here as well as it did in the last one. Like gravy flavored condom in the last one was about as far as you went, and that was still funny to me. I thought that that was still a fun gag. But like this, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, ah, well, have the portal be in his asshole. That's the funny part, right? It's like, no, like this isn't. You don't have to go this weird. And for a film that is set in primarily for a good chunk of this a space setting and kind of banking itself on that through all the marketing and everything. It's one of those things where I'm kind of like, I had pitched to you off air and I want to bring it up here to expand on it a little bit is like, what if you had done this where it's like at the end of ThanksKilling 2, let's say they put him in a pod, say it's like, and I thought about this a little bit more, say it's like they put him in a deep fryer, right? And like, they throw him in there and they shoot him off into space. And then it's like literally you just do Alien. They find it, they bring it on board, say it's a cooked turkey. They haven't Jason X, they haven't celebrated Thanksgiving in God knows how long. They eat someone eats the turkey just a little bit early, just a piece of it, and then turkey is reborn and he busts out, comes out of like leprechaun out of the dude's dick. And then you just have fun with that. You just really have turkey in space on the Nostromo murdering, unsuspecting characters and villains. Stick to your source material a bit more. Have stick more to your horror roots, go back to lampooning some of the classics. And that I really think should have been this film's wheelhouse.
Yeah, and I think that would have been a lot of fun. As soon as you had pitched that to me, I thought it was a really fun concept, especially with turkey bursting out of someone's chest, because visually you can see it and it fits
Hmm.
in with tone. And like looking at it, we've covered Leprechaun 4 in space here on the podcast or on the channel for Better Off Dead, and looking at that with the set pieces and everything like that, it lends itself here to being absolutely absurd, especially what the Leprechaun franchise was at the time. Looking at that, and if we really leaned into that space setting, and like I said, we don't need much of a variation from what we had in the first one. You could legitimately do that same tone, but in space, and it's going to feel different enough, but still true to form. I think, especially with the settings and things like that. I think that would have been a lot of fun because you could play with so much, especially just Turkey in space and dealing with technology and things like that would have been a lot of fun. This one, it felt like you said, it starts off as a joke that's really hitting, and then they kind of keep going and going and going, and then at some point you cross that threshold and it's just not funny anymore. And I think, I think that happens really early on in ThanksKilling 3, because, in that original, didn't really check my phone at all, didn't care about runtimes or anything, but I'll say honestly, for ThanksKilling 3, I did keep checking that runtime to see how far I was. And I don't remember the runtime of the original, but I know this one does what it's about over an hour 40, I think. So
Yeah, it says
um
it's about an hour 40 here. I'm checking for the first one.
um
But yeah,
and it
it's
felt like it really did feel like that, to be honest.
you're adding about 30 minutes. The other one is only an hour 10.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, and that first one's so condensed. It's just such a breeze to get through. Where this one, adding on that extra runtime, I don't think the story needed it, to be honest. From what they were trying to do, I think things killing should be, you're in and you're out.
Yeah, and honestly, I agree with you. And I could have taken maybe another 10 minutes. Like have that round out to an hour 20 for the first film because the
Mhm.
first film earns that. We have a lot of fun there. We're really moving and say what you will. The characters aren't great, but I like them a lot more than any of the characters in this. I love them way more than the puppets. I can tell you that much. Like this just I don't know why the hell they thought puppets was the way to go with this. I really don't know. Like you said, his son was a fine addition. I was totally on board with that. Even that whole gag with Turkey's wife and everything, that's
Yeah.
all fine. Again, that's early. That's
Yep.
early in the film. And then it seems like just after that bit, things really start to roll downhill for me. And it's just like it never picks itself back up. It feels disjointed. At one point, we're going because the film's essentially them looking for ThanksKilling 2. Turkey wants to grab all the copies and destroy them, at one point, and then it goes into a whole nother subplot, and it really just felt unfocused. Again, it feels like, hey, people really like this. This was a fun idea. Let's keep pitching goofy ass ideas to each other. And then they just kind of sat down and were like, wow, we actually get to make another one. Well, we have to use all these ideas we pitched. It's like, no, you don't. Just sit down. You have the opportunity, think about it. And I think we would have had more things killing films by now, but and I'd still be down. I would definitely love to see a return to form for Turkey. I think that he's a fun enough character, but yeah, I definitely do not want to go down the road of Things Killing 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think there were a couple of good ideas. Adding Nibla into this was a lot of fun. I think Blarth, Franken Turkey was a good idea, just not really executed well. But this one, it primarily should have just taken place in space, and I think you would have had a lot more fun of a film. But yeah, I would love to see Turkey return to the screen at some point. It has been a long layover. I think with a lot of things popping up and different outlets. Even if they took this, if a streaming property, one of these horror streaming properties,
Let's
picked up.
do it.
Did this Jack Frost, anything like that, I would be really eager to see, kind of put a little bit of a budget behind it. It already has a cult following, and really let's see what we can get, because I do think there's a little more gravy left in the tank here for ThanksKilling.
I like it. Yeah, and Uh, again, this doesn't take away from the first one for me.
No.
Again, this is more just one of those, it's there, and that's really where I'm going to sit with it. I don't recommend it, but and we don't really give ratings for these style reviews like we do with our raw reactions, but this would definitely be a skip it for me or slash it. It's just it's not worth it. It's just not it wasn't fun. I mean, again, I guess if you get baked before Thanksgiving dinner and you want to sit down and watch something zany and weird, sure, go for it. But like, don't say we didn't warn you because I think you would have a way better time just throwing on the first film. And I think that's fine. They obviously they haven't touched this in a while. The creatives, nobody's really tried to revive this. you and I think that there's definitely again some gravy left in the tank there, but I I would still really like to see turkey return, but I also don't blame anybody if we don't see another one because of this. But at least I will still always have that first film.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, for me, if I'm gonna recommend something, it's gonna be that first film. It's a breeze to get through. You'll save a half hour, and I think there's more fun there than there is for ThanksKilling 3. But yeah, like I would still love to see Turkey show up at some point. I think there's some more fun that we could be doing in the universe. But yeah, this one would definitely not be a recommend for me.
Yep. And hey, next year we get to sit down. We'll have Thanksgiving on 4K, hopefully. And yeah, we get to sit down and I can do myself a nice little double feature after dinner of ThanksKilling and then Thanksgiving. And yeah, who knows? Maybe, like you said, a lot of these streaming services out here, if any of the boys from Screambox or, Shutter or anybody are listening, or hell, even Tubi is producing original films, reach out, see what they're doing over there on the ThanksKilling team, and maybe if they don't want to do it, hey, we'll take a crack at it. I'll have
There we
some fun
go.
with that. Shit, even Full Moon features. You know what? If they could acquire Turkey, he'd fit right in to their wheelhouse. Give it to them.
An hour
So
10.
yeah, that's right. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap us up here for our review of ThanksKilling 3. Let us know if this is one that you actually enjoy. Which no judgment if you do. Everybody's got their own opinions. But let us know how you feel about it. Let us know if you like the first one a lot. If you still do, we do have a review up for that. Like we said, it's still up on the channel, so check that one out from last year. And yeah, let us know what you had for Thanksgiving dinner. Let us know what your favorite little side dish was. Are you a turkey guy? Are you a turkey girl? Whatever it is, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying anymore. But yeah, no, this is still fun. I'm excited to figure out what we're gonna watch for next year's Thanksgiving special, because now that we've got this done, I know Blood Rage is one that people are always talking about. There's a few others out there, but yeah, I'm always down for some Thanksgiving horror. So until next time, happy Thanksgiving, and remember, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
Stay scared.